a mass psychosis is what's occurring, where people are just not even listening to Trump's own people who said the election was fair and square. They're in a psychotic bubble.
Yes.
So talk about that, please.
Well, we've been warning since the very beginning that if Donald Trump were not properly intervened with, his psychological dangers will then translate into social, cultural, geopolitical, and civic dangers. And that's exactly what has happened. I've started to call it the Trump contagion so that people can recognize what the source of this is and what the solution would be. This is not normal for the culture, certainly. And
right.
Accepting it as normal, framing it as normal, or simply a different political stance or everyday ideological discourse, which is, of course, what the Trump camp wants, but that's not reality. The reality is that there is a distinction between healthy ideology and thoughts that might be espoused because of mental disorder or defect and because of pathology. And those are the kinds that we need to be alert about, because they can quickly bring a society down a death spiral.
And so I've been critical of the media, and you just touched on something that I would like you to expound on, because I have a large followership in the media. Talk to them, like, what's wrong with equivocating what Trump is doing with what Biden is doing, for example?
Well, I have often compared the Trump contagion to like the COVID pandemic. You wouldn't say that a COVID infection is the same as just any other health condition or someone's bodily state. In fact, one becomes very impaired, and because of the infectiousness of it, it becomes very dangerous for the population. And whatever state they're in, it would not be the state they would choose to be in if they had optimal health. And that's what we see also with the mental health pandemic, which is what I've called it. And I've also said that controlling the mental health pandemic is the first step to controlling the viral pandemic. Of course, that didn't happen, and see how the death rate in the United States was the highest and absolute highest in the world in terms of numbers, and the highest in terms of per 100,000 population in the industrialized world, because we did not follow public health measures, which could have even contained it entirely. I would argue.
Yeah, they were saying it was a hoax. They were saying that it's that ivermectin is better than a vaccination, and all kinds of, bizarre, crazy stuff. And RFK is continuing to say crazy, anti-science, anti-medicine.
So very similarly, the Trump contagion itself has to be contained very quickly, or it can spread in almost uncontrollable ways, in ways that we cannot counter by rational discourse or through politics as usual. I warned that the 2020 election alone would not contain Donald Trump, and indeed, his defeat certainly did not contain him.
Right. Yeah, I actually warned at the end of the cult of Trump that if he didn't win, there would be violence. And I cited Jim Jones. Look what happened when Congressman Ryan confronted Jones, and Jones realized he had no future. He took a lot of people down. And that's another topic I wanted to ask you about, because Trump's rhetoric is increasingly revenge and violence. And I know my former cult has an AR-15 gun factory and a cult worshiping AR-15s and 2 training compounds. So I'm really worried that they're going to go out and do violence against perceived enemies. Please, what do you think, and what do we do?
Yes, absolutely.
What can we do?
The longer that we've allowed this to go on without, again, proper mental health intervention, the more dangerous it has gotten. In fact, we have entered the most dangerous period yet, because the delusions, the fixed false beliefs, the paranoia, the vengeance-seeking behavior, and violence proneness, all these aspects have only increased because of Donald
Right.
Trump's continued exposure to the public, and that has not stopped. That's where mental health expertise would have been enormously helpful, because just about in every other circumstance, courts, prisons, and law enforcement do consult with us on how to handle dangerous individuals, how to contain them, when to release them out into the public. And whereas the legal system is involved with providing just punishment, mental health experts are involved with containing dangerousness and protecting the public. And this has not been done in ways that has developed into a calamity, frankly. And that's why we are at such a peril in terms of our democracy as well as our nation's security and survival.